Good morning. Oh, a little tired. Excuse me. Good morning. Good morning. So I'm on this journey to renew my mind, to help me think positively instead of all that negative trash I was carrying around for so long that it wasn't healthy. It wasn't accurate. It was like a very limited point of view that things were hopeless and that there weren't opportunities and there weren't really any reasons to be positive, which was such a big swing for me because I'm typically such a positive person. Sometimes it would get on some people's nerves. That like there's always a silver lining. There's always a solution for a problem. Is what I always believed, and I always said, and maybe I didn't always live that way because so often I would want to start a business and I would get everything started and I would incorporate and do the logo and do all like the startup stuff. But then when it was time to like face people with my business idea, I would get distracted, conveniently lose interest in that thing I was doing, and then start working on something else that was more along the lines of what I wanted to do, which like I would just kind of quit and start something new because I was afraid. And I was worried that I would not be able to provide a solution if a problem came, or somebody wouldn't be happy enough with the product I was offering or the service I was offering, or if somebody just wasn't happy like in general, then I wasn't sure I would be able to provide a solution. So like I said lots of positive things. I would always advise people really positively. I think if people would come to me complaining, I would show them why that complaint was short-sighted, why they should be positive and optimistic. But then when it came down to my own example, it definitely resembled their negative, fearful, lacking mindset instead of a mindset of abundance and possibilities and opportunities and success. I was just so afraid. And I had my different mechanisms of covering it up. Trying to look in control or confident. It was the show, So as years go by, I would kick myself for not pushing through that difficult moment. And that middle part, really good at the beginning, get stuff started, the idea, the idea phase, but then when it actually came time to doing, I wouldn't do it. And so when I would reflect back on those moments, on those ideas I had, on those opportunities that I had set up for myself, but I just never took, I would get so upset at myself. And then that kind of it produced a negative talk track in my head, and it, like, why even try things? Why even pretend you're going to start something? You're not going to start it. You're not going to do it. You're afraid. You're afraid. And maybe when I failed at my marriage, when my marriage failed, and maybe that was like the last straw. You know, it was, man, it was like I had been building up for so long, but when I failed at the thing that I cared most about, it sent me in a downward spiral. I don't know if it was a downward spiral necessarily. I mean, maybe there were aspects of it, but it was like the ground was just pulled out from under me, and I got low real quick. And so I've been working on my mindset, on thinking about what I'm thinking about. And there's this great book by this controversial lady, Battlefield of the Mind, and it has so much truth in it that it's like our mind is where we battle. Our mind is where the devil attacks us. The mind is where most people struggle the most. I mean, if you listen to these self-help people, there's Lewis Howes interviews. He's interviewing all these scientists and doctors and researchers and authors, and so many of them like echoed the same thing. It's like, the mind, like, it dictates what you do. It dictates how your life turns out, whether you live life or you hide and you don't really accomplish anything. It's your thought patterns that kind of are the starting point of your world. And like all these guys, it's reflecting biblical principles. Which I really like, that I can kind of confirm those self-help guys, those new types of thinking. I can confirm them with a really old source that kind of proves their validity. And so I recommend that book, The Battlefield of the Mind. And I recommend just actions of paying attention to what you think about. One of my friends, she's a professor of like sports psychology. And she says one of the biggest, there's not one of the biggest challenges or one of the most important things to do, maybe first steps, is when you're playing your sport, realize what you're thinking about. Realize what your thought patterns are. Like, for me, sometimes I have difficulty hitting overheads. Like, I can hit them hard, I just don't hit them in tennis. And so either I hit it in the net or I hit it way out of the line. And so she helped me once with just saying, think about what you're thinking about. Pay attention to what you're telling yourself right when you're about to hit that shot. And it's amazing what we think about. It's like that shot comes up, you're going back to hit it, and it's like, oh no, you're gonna miss, you're gonna miss, you're gonna miss. It's like, how can you do well when you're talking to yourself like that? And then there's this older book. It was written in the 70s, I guess. It's The Inner Game of Tennis. And he talks about that. It's like recognize your thought patterns. In his experience, he had like people would make a good shot, and they're like, yeah, great, and then their next shot would be bad, and they're like, oh, you're horrible at tennis, and you never should play. And like, people say the worst things to themselves, things you would never say to somebody else. Like, why do we think, kind of weird, why do we think we have the right to talk to ourselves that way? Why do we think it's something we should do? Why do we think it's beneficial for us to completely tear ourselves down, in everything we do? Even doesn't matter if it's simple little things or really big important things. We tear ourselves down. But we do it because we don't realize we're doing it. Maybe that's even scarier. That we are naturally, unconsciously abusing ourselves. If somebody else did that, like if you tried to hit a ball or whatever it is, if you're driving a car or you're doing your thing at work, you try something, it doesn't work exactly the way you thought. Maybe it's not a disaster, it's just slightly off of what you expected, and you start just berating yourself. You're horrible, you're no good, you can't do that. Of course, why did you even try? If your boss did that to you, you call HR. If you we wouldn't. If a teacher did that to a kid, they would be fired. but we choose to do that to ourselves. And so just like awareness, knowledge that we do that is the first step to recovery, right? It's paying attention to your thinking about what you're thinking about is so crucial and critical. So I think we need to get to journal. And with journaling, it's writing how you're feeling, but also we need to write what we say to ourselves. And so, on our phone, we have the notepads and the reminders and the lists and things, and it's real easy. Whenever, like right at the moment that you're doing that thing, that you end up just like cursing yourself for some small little mistake, hit that like reminder app, hit on the list of your list of stinking thinking, and hit record. I was telling myself I'm horrible and can't do this thing right before I did it, like right while I was attempting to do the thing. Here's a date. This is what I was trying to do. Having that record, you can go look at it at the end of the day and see how many times you're doing this to yourself. It's definitely not healthy. And everybody does it. Everybody does it in some part of their life. And what's worse than doing it to yourself is doing it to yourself and not knowing you're doing it. Being completely ignorant doesn't help in this situation. So once you identify the problem, once you identify when and where and what you're saying to yourself, you can start correcting it. Those negative thoughts come in, say, no, that's not true. Like that's the thing. So many of these things that we say to ourselves, it's not true. We know in our head somewhere that these horrible things aren't true, but somehow like our heart, our soul has picked these things up. If you're saying things to yourself and you don't know that you're saying them to yourselves, where are those things coming from? It's not coming from your mind. It's coming from your heart, your soul, right? So we gotta do some work to help ourselves live a better life. Help ourselves have the confidence to live the life that we want to live. And your mindset matters. Mindset matters so much. Like some people just carry around depression with them. for years and years, not acknowledging they're depressed. Maybe it's not really that they're trying to hide it, but that they don't really know. Like they're just blind to the fact that they're miserable. And they're blind to the fact that they're not living they're blind to the fact that they're not living a life that brings them joy. They're not living a life that's impactful for anybody because they continually tell themselves that they're incompetent and incapable. They carry some life event around with them, like a grown person carrying around something that happened in 4th grade. Every time you talk about that incident that happened in 4th grade, your feelings are hurt. You might even cry, but not realizing that thing in 4th grade, it shouldn't have such an impact on you now. And if you just keep trying to cover it up, just keep brushing it under the rug, just like ignoring that pain. You think the way to get rid of pain is by not paying attention to it, ignoring it, hiding it, just faking, pretending like everything's okay? You're a little confused because that's not the way to take care of things. You're pushing it down, but it's still there. And you have to realize why that's hurting you. What things in your current life are being affected, like infected by that horrible thinking that you're carrying around with yourself. But you have to deal with it. You have to think about it. You have to turn it over to God. You have to realize that you have to dissect that thing and, okay, well, here was the incident, and because of that incident, I tell myself this and that, and I believe about myself this and that, and it's limited my life. And then so much of the time we don't share stuff with other people, especially as men. If we have a problem like that, man, we're not telling anybody. It's just kind of the way men are raised in America. You have to be that Marlboro man. You're a loner. You're strong and tough and can do anything. But men need each other. It's good to be vulnerable. It's good to be completely honest with yourself and to share what's going on with you. It's so good to share it with other people. But it's so intimidating that men just don't do it. It's shunned in our society. like it kind of happened to me. He's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about the things that hurt me. So people were calling me like macho. Like that was one of the terms, macho, tough, not admitting any problems. It's like, well, yeah, men aren't supposed to admit problems. You know, it's not a male chauvinist thing. It's a American can-do attitude with the masculine. You have to be tough and willing to be shot at in order to protect your country and protect the people you love. You know, put yourself in a horrible, dangerous situation so that the people you love can benefit. So we send all of our young men off to be soldiers. We're telling them that's how they should live. It's who they should be. Maybe they don't realize that, you know, that's who you should be at that moment, in that time, but the rest of your life, you're a husband, you're a father, you're a friend, you're a son. It's okay to be vulnerable. You know, everybody has problems. Everybody has problems and issues and pains and fears and doubts. And man, it's just, I don't know why currently men don't think they can express their doubts. Oh, I was telling you, yeah, like I was called like macho and chauvinist and whatever for not wanting to talk about or discuss, you know, the pains and fears that I had, just kind of brushing things over and like, yeah, you know, things are difficult, but it'll be okay. You know, instead of just completely breaking down. But then when I completely broke down, it's like, oh well, chin up. You're supposed to be tough. You know, it's like this. It can't be both ways. You know, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, it's bizarre. But then I've been seeing, like, doing research on YouTube to see if there are people speaking out about their pains, about, you know, specifically like about divorce. There are few people that like have their divorce story up there, and yeah, it's nice for them to be genuine and share those personal things. But I only found one that was a man sharing his story. And you know, it's like he went through some hard times in the marriage. It was, there were some harsh words said, and they just, you know, kind of got married without knowing each other, which I think maybe a lot of people do these days. I don't know, I did. And he opened up just a little bit about some of the really cruel things that were said to him and how it affected him. And then like the comments, these women are calling him names and just being completely horrible with, calling him, snowflake, and you're, man up, and you're whatever. That didn't happen to you. You're. It's like pain and suffering could only happen to a feminist. It's like I don't. Yeah, but there were a lot of women that were like, good for you. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your pain. I think people can learn from this and help their emotional development. But there were several women just being hateful. They were almost presenting like a male talking about his pain and his struggles. We're taking something from women because like emotional pain and suffering is only supposed to be a woman's issue. It's a human issue. Everybody deals with pain and suffering. And everybody hurts. So, kind of expect those same women to say some of the same things to me. It's not a competition in pain, It's like there's plenty of pain to go around. Not taking anything from you. And it's weird. It's like these feminists, like fighting for equality and all this stuff. Trying to act more masculine and when a man reveals how his thoughts, how his emotions have been hurt, how he has these he's endured these these cruel moments with women. It's like these feminists who are telling men to not be so masculine. At that moment, they're saying, "Hey, well, you need to stop being so sensitive. You need to be masculine." Like flies in the face of the feminist movement. Like, well, no, you need to be. You need to be the thing that we've been telling you that you need to stop being. Right, no, this emotional stuff is it's protected. It's specifically only for women. Anyway, it's so men suffer. Men suffer so much. I've always been a kind of sensitive guy, but even the real like macho, like masculine guys, like they, they have feelings too. Everybody has feelings. Everybody lives through circumstances that are not pleasant. Everybody has had something done to them that sticks with them for a while, that kind of perverts their way of thinking, where it's not, takes you from being positive and hopeful. You start claiming you're now like a realist, but you're really negative, and you lose that excitement of innocence. And people shoot down your dreams, and people tell you that you're not capable. And some people use that as fuel to go off and build a huge company. Other people internalize it and just like keep focusing on that thing, and that's like their crutch. But both of those two guys, they're both suffering. As one has a more positive result from it, seemingly has a more positive result from it, has a, build success, become self-made and stuff. But no, that guy is still hurting. He's driving so hard because he's hurt, and either he's trying to prove something, or he's trying to run from something, or he has that person in his head telling him he can't do it. And so he's working so hard to prove people that he can. But he hadn't accepted that he has, that he is enough, just as he is. I mean, that same person, whenever he retires from that job, he makes enough money or whatever, he wants to start traveling or be with family, or if he reaches, COVID hits and it, bankrupts his business, well, that person's going to be devastated because their identity was in that business. Their coping mechanism was that work, and without that coping mechanism of dealing with their way of dealing with their pain and suffering, that they're going to be crushed. So realizing you're going to be crushed if you don't have some sort of coping mechanism, it's kind of an addiction. It's a problem that needs to be faced. It needs to be faced now, before you don't have that coping mechanism. So I had this men's group. Well, I didn't have it. I attended this group. It was a Bible study, and it was only men, and kind of the teachers would change out from time to time. But it wasn't really about the Bible study so much. I mean, it was about the time together. And there were times where people would express their pain, and people would confess things that they were struggling with. And they would admit, that they're not completely strong, that they're not perfect, that they're not self-reliant. And men would admit that they need other men. They need that emotional support system. It was the most beautiful thing. I mean, it was like, it's just necessary. It was, you walk into the place and you're happy to see everybody and just giving hugs, men telling each other they love them. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I think it helped every man that was in there. And in that group, I realized that a lot of men don't have that. That they didn't. A lot of men don't have that thing that's so necessary for them to have. Like that group, that support of men, unconditional love, acknowledging that we all have struggles. It wasn't like an accountability thing, like, oh, I messed up again, and these guys are like, well, you shouldn't mess up. Like, it wasn't anything like that. They're like, man, this is struggling with this. I keep doing the same thing, and people are like, you know what? We love you anyway. Let us know how we can help you. We're here for you. Give you a hug, tell you I love you. Like, everybody needs that. I've heard that women will have their little groups where they do that thing, and they'll get together, once a week or something, and they'll just talk. They'll do coffee. They'll talk about their problems, and they'll just, it's like that's allowed, for women to do that. But men, you have to be so tough. If you get together, you're just playing sports, and you never really know each other. You just you're just in close proximity, you give each other a high five and you appreciate each other. But even if you do go out, you get together and you talk about sports. It's like, yeah, my team got a new quarterback. Yeah, the season's going to be good this year. It's like, okay, it's good. It's great. It's going to be something to look forward to. But it's kind of a mask, to cover up that's you're hiding that thing that you really want to and need to talk about. You need the support from your guys, not just not just like a high level friendship, but something that's close. Instead of just hiding in your work or hiding in your sports team you like to follow, you gotta open up. And so maybe men can't do that, too scared to do that. I don't have an opportunity. I don't think there are a lot of groups that are like that. But at least you can share your story here. I think it's, I don't know, going to be united under God testimonies, or like mindset matters or something. Men's support, whatever. I'm trying to categorize it correctly, but check out unitedundergod.org. Going to be a resource, for men, for married couples who are struggling, for women who are going through stuff. Pre-divorce care, post-divorce care. It's just in its infancy stages right now, but it'll be a growing resource. But anyway, so I think it's so vitally important for you to record your story. Even if you're still suffering, even if you haven't started healing at all, you got to get it out there. You got to record it. Just prop your phone up somewhere, hit the record button, and just share your story. It feels so good to get it off your chest. And then you realize that your story, maybe it can help someone else who has been through a struggle, or your story can help someone else who's going through a struggle, like what you've been through. And especially if you just started to come out of that darkness, if you just started to heal and recover, that can be so important for someone who's just suffering and they see no way out. Like, we're never really finished growing. Like there's always something in us that we can, that needs to be healed, you know, that we need to work on. So if you wait till you're healed, if you wait till you're finished, people will never hear your story. But it's vitally important for you to be brave enough to share your suffering. I mean, with some detail to it. People need to know if your story relates to theirs. I experienced this last night where I was doing research on people's divorce stories. And, you know, mainly it's a few women up there telling their story of how they left their husbands. One, it was how her husband left her. But I was looking to hear about someone who had suffered and struggled, and how they couldn't eat or they couldn't sleep, and they just cried for days and days and days, and every time they would see a picture of their kids, they would just like collapse and break, and so they have to hide the picture of their kids just so they could, you know, function, just so they could walk through their own house without just being completely heartbroken all over again. And I was looking to relate. I was looking for somebody. I was looking for somebody with a story as bad or worse than mine. So that I could say, you know, wow, that person did it. They suffered and they overcame. Yeah, that is meaningful to me. That is a spark I need, that they have proven that they can overcome all of this, and they can live life again. But instead, I kind of feel bad for it. Like, I was like excusing and not recognizing their suffering. I was just being so critical. Like, oh well, that's all you suffered? Well, that's not really much. You know, like we're not talking about the same thing here. Like your suffering is that from time to time your car didn't work, and you didn't have full-size appliances, and you had air conditioning units, but they couldn't get cold enough, so you still had to use a fan. I mean, say like that was the hardest thing. Like she was saying, like, y'all, I'm being for real. I suffered. Like, I had to walk to work. His car didn't work. Like, I want to think I'm missing something with that story. But I was looking to relate, and I couldn't. Like, yeah, life isn't always easy, and you have the nicest stuff. That's just kind of life. I don't really see that as suffering. Like the other day, the like I cooked pancakes on a campfire for my kids, like in the backyard. It was it was because like one of the appliances broke, and it was super fun. You know, it was an experience. It was a moment. It was a memory. I'm always looking for memories for my kids. And so I think when we record our videos that it should be that it should be, I don't know, completely honest, candid, that it should be detailed, maybe not graphic, but like sharing the pain so people can know if your story is the one that's going to help them, so that people can know if your story is the one that applies to their situation. We're just like, yeah, there were a lot of bad stuff I don't really want to get into. Like, well, I mean, that can help some. Yeah, there are a lot of bad things I don't want to get into, but life goes on and things are better now. I watched one video that was kind of like that, and she didn't really go into much of her story, but then at the end she's like, I'm so grateful for where I am now. And like, she didn't think she would be in that spot if she had gone through her marriage and her divorce. And so she's making the most of that like difficult situation, which that's good, and I appreciate, and I like hearing that, that with whatever pain she went through, that there was hope afterwards. But I really want to know I think people really looking for a story that reflects their own, and to see somebody who has overcome that pain and that suffering and now lives again, is outside of living life to its fullest after overcoming that pain and suffering. And they want to know if they can do that too. So people need to know if your story, they need to know the details of your story, so they can know if that's a story they can latch on to for hope, if it applies to them, or your story might be for somebody else. Just thinking of opportunities that kind of come our way. I think that's like a misnomer, maybe. Like opportunities that come our way. Yeah, there are some opportunities that come to us that happen to me out of the blue. Like, hey, I need somebody to do this job. Or here, you might be a good fit for it. Do you want to give this a try? So yeah, that opportunity came out of nowhere. So like, that opportunity comes, or those types of opportunities come. I believe most of the opportunities are ones you take, or the ones you make, or maybe like things that are available to everybody. Like, we have tons of opportunities. You want to be a YouTuber? Well, record a video and put it up. Like, it's there. It's an easy opportunity. You don't like how our government's running? Okay, run for office. Put your name up there. In most situations, it costs like nothing, and you just do it. You want an opportunity to be a tennis coach? Okay, sign up. it's in a way, it's like, what's on your heart? What do you see? What do you want to do? And that opportunity is there. It might take a couple steps, but some things maybe you can't do because you don't have the college degree, and you have to get 4 or 10 years of college before you can go after that opportunity that's available to some people. Maybe that's not every opportunity is available to you, but it's like there are millions of opportunities that are out there. It's for anybody. Maybe you have to sign up for a class, or you have to get a license or a certificate. You have to get certified and approved by a certain group of people that you can do the thing that you want to do. But after a few days, weeks, months, you can do it. You have so many opportunities. And that possibility of opportunities, of being able to step into something, like that can give us life. That can give us hope. Just thinking about what you can do. Think about what you want to do that gets you excited. And there are like 100 opportunities around like each one of those things. Like, you want to help kids. Okay, well, you can be a teacher. You can go get a degree. You can be a coach of something. You can become a tennis coach. It takes you a few weeks to get a certificate if you know tennis. Like, you can go work at a daycare, which I don't know if you need a license or certificate for. go be a social worker, which I don't know. I don't think that requires a degree, but yeah, you can work in a situation where you're protecting kids from abusive adults. You can work in church, be a kid Sunday school teacher. Go work at an amusement park and just watch kids having fun going down the water slides all day. Start a YouTube channel. It's just about kids playing. Become a life coach and help their parents learn how to provide a better living. But you don't have to just wait for an opportunity just to be placed on you. I know some people that are like that, like, oh no, the only opportunity is certain specifications and it's, wait for the open door. There are hundreds of doors that are waiting for you to open. There's like, you can do anything. Like with the kid thing, like build toys, sell pets, breed dogs. So many things if you just use your imagination. I find one of the most beautiful things is being around people who are smiling. Like, put yourself in an environment where everybody's having fun. And there's this place I go to sometimes where it's a beautiful place. It's a gorgeous resort. Amenities are great. Tennis, golf, beach. Just tons and tons of things for you to do. But the thing that makes it are the people who live there. The people are just fantastic. They are just happy. They're happy people. I don't know if it's the environment that they're in, that certain type of people, they've achieved what they want to achieve in life and they don't have to worry about certain things. Or it's their mindset. They're really positive, because there's some people that if they, even if they earned $1 million a month, well, they'd be worried that it's just more to lose. Or people are just gonna take advantage of you or come after you or whatever. But like most of these people, they are just happy. I love going out and playing tennis with them. They just, they're just in a good mood, they're in a good place, they're in a good spot in life, and they're doing something that they enjoy. You know, they're playing tennis, which they really enjoy, and so they're just happy. And I love being around happy people. It builds you up, and I think it's a really important thing to do with whatever opportunities you take in life, to make sure, like, either you can be around happy people or you can help make people happy. To me, like, being around just negative people, it's just horrible. People who refuse to believe that there's anything good. And whenever you show them, hey, look, here's something good, they like have 100 excuses why it doesn't apply. Or a situation like a job where you're just sitting behind a computer screen, you're advancing the job, you're doing what that boss needs you to do, and you're just behind the screen, just typing in data, getting the task done. But it's like, I don't know, soul sucking. It's that's too harsh of a word, but it's not life giving. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It's not life giving. It doesn't make you excited. It doesn't give you joy. It doesn't help make anybody else happy. Like, the only reason for doing it is for making money. Then when you do a job like that, I think you end up spending all the money you make on trying to make you happy. And so you end up miserable at work and broke. But if you're doing something you love, or you're doing something that you can share love with other people and help make other people happy, well, you come home and you're continuing that joy, and you don't have to have all these coping mechanisms, and you can save the money that you make, even if you make a lot less. You know, you don't have to have that other stuff to try to make you happy, or that other stuff to make you forget you're not happy. So I think it's really important to make sure you take, or you make an opportunity for yourself in what you do day after day that is around happy people, or where you can help people become happy. You know, like even a lot of this that I'm talking about, like being broken, like going through things that are horrible and being broken, you know, those people aren't happy. Like they want to be happy, but they're just suffering so much, and they need somebody to have compassion on them and to help them become happy. And then you can be a part of them finding their life again. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's not just being around people with a smile on their face all the time, but it's like the impact you can make, and how can your life influence others? How can your life influence other people's lives to make it better, to make it happy, to help relieve suffering? You know, not in a just short-term, momentary thing, but help that person relieve suffering for the rest of their lives. And then be able to take the tools that they've learned and apply them the next time pain comes. And it's really teaching people that no matter what, there's hope. And no matter what, there's always a way out to find happiness and joy again. That life is a beautiful thing that's meant to be lived. And helping them find their purpose. Purpose and the meaning for their life. Their life is meant to be lived. There's meaning in living. There's meaning in living. I'm gonna get some breakfast. There it is. See you later.